cut a patch out. And so they were so intense on wanting to correct it, probably with the eraser, they actually cut the text out and glued in the correct text. Okay? This is the Nash Papyrus, which is the earliest text of the Ten Commandments, and also of the Shema. This is a codex, a book. This is very rare. I mean, they all are. This is of the Book of Psalms, and so I have it open. The large letters of the alphabet of the Hebrew alphabet portion of it. I have it open to Psalm 119 on the Word of God. All right. So this is a text. This is a facsimile, but it's a museum-grade facsimile. So if you go, many of you I know, I've met briefly your pastor, a wonderful, a number of your pastors, wonderful people. I know that there's an interest in traveling to Israel and all. When you go to the Shrine of the Book, many of the things that you see in there are facsimiles. Okay, because they're too precious to have out. So this is a facsimile of a Dead Sea Scroll, but it's a museum-grade facsimile, and it's called the Testimonia. And what it is, it's a list of passages that relate to the Messiah. And you find this in Jesus' response to the messengers from John the Baptist. When he says, he's in prison, are you really the Messiah? And he responds by saying, this happens, and this happens, and this happens, and this happens. He points to the evidence of his miracles to prove that he's the Messiah. That's what this text does. And it is written, it's in a scene, Qumran, Dead Sea Scroll. This is the Book of Enoch page in Greek. Enoch is in Aramaic. From the Dead Sea Scrolls, it's also in Greek. And it's in Ethiopian, too. But this is the Greek text of it. I brought this one for the people of Papua New Guinea. It's extremely rare. It's a scroll that would have been used, the Haftorah, so it would have been read like Jesus read from Isaiah. They would also read from this. I have it marked with blue markers. It's read from right to left, so it starts down here and goes to here. I have it open to the book of Jonah. I thought that would be great for the people of PNG, to have the water and so forth. So this is the minor prophets. So I've seen thousands of scrolls. I've only seen 2 minor prophet scrolls. So it's really rare. All right. This is an Esther scroll. It's from Lithuania. Oh, by the way, this scroll is from, we know from a stamp on it, is from Szydłca. Szydłca, Poland. It has a stamp from the ghetto there. We know that the synagogue was burned in 1939, 38, 39. It's burned in 39. The Germans burned the synagogue, wouldn't you know it, on Christmas Eve. And all the scrolls were destroyed there. All the people were killed eventually. Somehow this and a handful of scrolls were sneaked out of the ghetto to the forest and preserved. And we got them. And here it is to tell its story to you. Isn't that awesome? I mean, these things have survived to tell you all to be confident in the Word. So this is an Esther scroll, and it's open. The large letters are the names of the sons of Haman who were hanged along with Haman. This is the original ancient study Bible. It's neither an NIV or a King James. It's written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Arabic with Hebrew letters, line by line by line by line. So it's written in 3 languages. So they could, with the Arabic, they could compare with their own language. They could look at the Aramaic They could look at the Hebrew. I mean, you can imagine Jesus' world with Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. So it's 3 languages, and then this also has several commentaries that are included with it. This is a collection of this very rare, only one I've seen, Song of Solomon, Ruth, and Ecclesiastes with translation, Hebrew, Aramaic, and also commentary as well. So the 2 commentary pieces. This is a facsimile of P52, the earliest, it's what, like, if you were to look online or you'd ask, like, a seminary professor or something like that, they would say, oh, the earliest text of the New Testament is P52. But we know tonight that's not true, because I showed you one text that's earlier, that's not published, and I told you about the Mark text, that people will say, well, it probably doesn't exist because it hasn't been published. I worked with it twice at Oxford. So there are at least 2 texts that are coming out that are earlier than this. But as things go, this is the earliest right now text of the New Testament. And this is the one where Pilate's asking about truth. This is a page from Sinaiticus at the end of Jeremiah. This is a page from Alexandrinus, from Luke chapter 4, where Jesus is in the synagogue, at temptation in the synagogue at Nazareth. And the place, if you look at the little dots at the top, the way that they would indicate quotations from the Old Testament is they put dots. There are no chapters or verses. You understand that? Chapters were invented in 1150 by an Archbishop of Canterbury named Stephen Langton. And verses were technically invented in 1551 by a printer by the name of Stephanus. But actually there was a Catholic at the same time Martin Luther lived, who lived in Firenze in Florence, who by himself, Luther had a group of people working with him. This guy, Sancti Paganini, by himself, while Michelangelo is painting, you know, and you got the smell of paint in Firenze, this guy's working in the monastery of San Marco, single-handedly for 27 years translated the Bible from Hebrew and Greek into Italian. And he created verses for everything. But the verses weren't accepted by the norm. But I'm just saying, you know, here's a guy who's a Catholic who's doing this at the same time that Luther's doing this. Because there's a spirit of wanting to know and understand the Word. You know, and have it in your own language. All right. This is Washingtoniensis, which is a fancy name. Washington. It comes from Washington. You name manuscripts either by who owns them or where they come from or something. This comes from the Freer Gallery at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. and is from the Gospels. And this is Codex Climaci Rescriptus. This is the one that the Aramaic is underneath, Jesus' language, and you can see the 2 columns underneath it. And the 16th and final one here is the Vulgate. So it's the Latin Vulgate. And actually, this particular Vulgate was created. See, you're asking how do we know what they date to and stuff like that. In a case like this, the writing and so forth, but I also know by the size and all this kind of stuff that this was created in Paris and was made for students at the University of Paris. So this would have been owned by somebody who had a lot of wealth, but was going to study theology, and this would have been their Bible for studying theology. So that's what we brought for you. Listen, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. Now, before you'll have the opportunity to, check out these artifacts, Dr. Scott, could we just ask you to come up here for a quick minute, maybe 2? Now, since you blessed me earlier with the priestly blessing, would you kindly also bless us with the benediction before we check out these artifacts?
Be my pleasure, yeah.
Can we all stand up?
Let's pray together. Father in heaven, thank you so much for the dedication of time for each person here, for the families that they represent, loved ones, and hopes and dreams and engagement, and the churches, and for this church, CCF, and for the school of leadership that's brought us here. We're grateful for ABTS and for all the hard work that they all do as well, and for the students with ABTS, and just the sacrifice of time. Father, we all stand before you, and we're grateful, so grateful for your loving kindness and grace to us. We're grateful for your word. We confess that we take it for granted, that we are not ardent as students, that we need to be more diligent in it. Help us to remember, please, that some of the things that we've encountered tonight, I pray that for my friends, that it would give them stronger faith, that it would drive them to your word, that it would help them to lovingly reach out to people around them who may not know you, and to give them a hope for the reason that lies within them. Father, bless this church, bless each person here. Thank you for the items that are here, and for the resources that have allowed us to follow them. We pray for an open door in the Philippines for an exhibit, and pray that it might bless many people, and leave that with you. So, with these things, we pray that you reside over us for the rest of the evening. We love you, and we're grateful for your grace. We offer these prayers up to you through the one, the very one who's the living word. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. Scott. Thank you for that truly wonderful night with you. And it is not over, so right now we will, please, so if we want to do this properly, if we could begin on this side. Okay?
This side.
You want to start on this side? Okay, so you know why we're actually doing it from this side? Because Hebrew is read from right to left. That's how accurate he is, even with his cueing, okay? So I guess we begin on that side. If we could just come around and just make it quickly. Maybe you could take a panorama shot, kind of walk through without parking too long so everyone can see. So we just move on quickly. Not gonna happen, that's right. Okay. So the word says obey. So please obey. Begin on this side.